Hello, hello, hello. This is Tooth Be Told. This is Dr. Walter Aka. Man, I know. Go ahead, just introduce yourself, and then we'll get started because I'm very excited about this episode.
No, I'm excited too. I love sharing from the heart. I love my colleagues. I love dispelling myths. And, I'm a dentist now for over 25 years. I'm certified as a trainer, yoga instructor. I've read articles, I've written articles, and I want to share with dentists how not only they can get in good shape, but they can actually be the voice of wellness, chairside, which makes us indispensable in the hearts and minds of our patients. So no better way to promote dentistry and oral health.
Right. Well, so give us a quick summary of basically your quick bio, how you got into fitness, what got you going in that direction. Because I was telling you before off screen, I saw you for the first time during a conference, and I all I saw was somebody on stage running around, pulling people out of the crowd, and I was like, what is going on? And this is not normal to anybody that's listening. This is not normal to any conference at all. It's the speakers up there. We sit back and we listen. But for
Mhm.
you, it was like, no, I want interaction. I want, I want people to just evaluate and see, and how do we do this and get excited. And so just give us a quick summary, man. Like I'm very excited about this episode.
Yeah, life is movement. Rigor mortis is death. So a lot of speakers and thought leaders die on the platform because they're just like spouting mouths. If you're just a talking headpiece, people start checking their real estate listings. They start checking Bitcoin. I'm like, I want to be more important for Bitcoin in the next hour with you. And the only way I can do that is by showing movement, getting your head turning left and right, getting you up and sitting down and really joining in the conversation. People thinking, is he talking to me? Is he talking to me? I don't know, is he talking to you? And that's the best way to keep people engaged. And when there's engagement, there's learning. And I think I'm not sure if I learned that from my mom. My mom is Irish, so she gave me the gift of the gab. My dad is Nigerian or African, so
Okay.
he gave me the thoughtful, soulful side. And he always kept saying, a sound mind and a sound body. He'd say, "You studied enough, Uche. Get outside and play." So I love how many kids get told to go outside and play, but you have
Right.
an African dad. He's telling you being movement is just as important as studying. And Andrew Huberman of the Huberman Lab now talks about, only 45 minutes of intense or cognitive focus at a time. And then you got to do something else to integrate it. So sound mind and a sound body, if you have challenges internalizing or getting a cognitive concept, maybe you're not moving enough. And most parents think, sit down at your desk all day. And now we know learning is interactive, it's movement based, it's experiential. And I love that transformational style. I'm certified as a trainer. I've written a couple of books. I've written tons of articles. I'm speaking all over the place. I love online learning because it can be anywhere at any time. But a big part of what I do, though, I'm still practicing dentistry. 2 or 3 days a week, I'm chairside. I am getting to know people with their medical history. And what I really know is, and I remember I've been to some Pankey programs, and LD Pankey said, a person doesn't leave their marriage, their job, their sleep habits in the car when they come in. And most dentists focus so much on the crown, focus so much on the gingiva, focus so much on the soft tissue management, they forget they're working on a shift worker. They forget they're working on an obese person, which is 42% of Americans.
Hmm.
They forget they're working on someone who hates their job, which is 70% of Americans either tolerate or hate their job. They forget they're working on a person who is sedentary, which is 80% of people. And if you forget that, you will wonder why the implant's not integrating. You'll
Hmm.
forget why you'll lose touch with the fact that most patients, 3 and 4 month recare frequency is needed for obese people who don't sleep well because they're chronically inflamed. So until we start looking at lifestyle, and not necessarily becoming a certified trainer, you don't have to have a six-pack to start talking about this. We're simply saying, why not start living your own health journey? Share it with your patients so you can be like-minded. There's a kindred spirit part of you. And then take patients on a journey with you. I know how many dentists sit there, they got a big belly, they smell like a drive-through, and they're talking about holistic dentistry. If your fingertips are yellow from smoking, if you smell like special sauce, I would say you might better create some moderation with your nutrition and start walking the talk. And walking the talk is so attractive. When you walk the talk, it's authentic. It is charismatic. Patients lean in like they've never done before, thinking, I've never had this conversation with a healthcare provider. I love my dentist. I love my hygienist. And that's where I fit in. I want to be that person for dentistry.
So, one thing people will always say, dentists will always have pushback, right? We talked about this. We're very type A. So if they say, hey, listen, I don't have the time for that. I have a practice to run. I'm trying to get to hang out with my family. I'm doing all this other stuff. What do you tell them? Like, what kind of advice would you give somebody who thinks they have absolutely no time to go for a 30-minute walk, to, move around like you do?
I love that question. Yeah, we all make fun of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, but CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, all of them exercise. Every CEO of Fortune 500 company exercises. Dentists, not so much. So if dentist thinks I don't have time to exercise, think of the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies. They all work out. They have trainers. They eat healthy, because it's no point in being a billionaire if you got to carry your body around in a wheelbarrow. That being said, Dennis, cognitively, you can be stronger by exercising. There's a neurotransmitter called BDNF. BDNF enables or supports good communication between all 85 billion neurons. And if your 85 billion neurons are firing well, and those 100,000 synapses between each neuron are working well, guess what? You'll be more integrated cognitively, which means you'll make better treatment plans. You'll see all sides of an issue. You're better able to get a patient engaged with a case presentation or a treatment plan. So exercise is not just about just looking good at your 20th college union. It's about being cognitively aware, energetically present, to be as powerfully present at your 6 o'clock patient treatment in the evening as you are at your 9 o'clock. So being fit means you can earn more, be more productive, more cognitively aware. There's really no aspect of a dentist's life that they could not benefit from being physically active. And that's my answer to you. When doctors say, I don't have time for it. If you don't make time for exercise, you better make time for sickness. If you don't make time for exercise, every dentist better make time for sickness. So that could be just a powerful point, and it makes it a no-brainer. How do you argue with that?
Okay, so we're not going to argue about, getting up and moving around. We're not going to argue. I promise
Okay.
you. But what about diet? Okay. Hey, listen, the only thing I can honestly do is I can go to that McDonald's next door to me, that Chick-fil-A next door to me, and grab something really quick, that Starbucks, and grab something really quick, because I have to get back to my patients. I don't have time to sit there and eat all this and prepare meals and so forth. Let's talk about diet and how
Mhm.
important that is in making dentists, hygienists, assistants more productive, better, healthier, so forth.
Okay. Well, not only for yourself, chairside, Hippocrates 2,300 years ago said all disease begins in the gut. Here's a person before the microscope, before probiotics, before the study of gastroenterology, before the study of formalized medicine, said all disease in the human body begins on the inside, begins in the digestive tract. So how can you argue with Hippocrates? Every physician takes the Hippocratic oath.
Mm,
So dentists, listen, we always want to think of ourselves as a doctor. Most dentists don't use the term doctor unless they're booking a restaurant reservation or
that's
trying to get an upgrade on a plane. But I'm saying, think of yourself like an oral physician, a physician of the mouth. Think of the fact that Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. Where does food enter the body? Through the mouth.
no.
We're in charge of the gateway, So technically, when the first physician says all disease begins in the mouth, he's basically empowering dentists and dentistry to say how if it begins in the body,
Mhm,
it enters through the mouth.
mhm.
The only way to have good digestion, good absorption, is to have good functioning TMJ, to have good saliva, to have a fully all arches of mouth fully restored, so there's no edentulous spaces. You want nice enveloped function. You want no bruxism. You want restful sleep at night. Now, this is our sweet spot. Every hygienist saying, hey, I can get involved in strengthening the periodontium. Prosthodontists, I can get involved in restoring all the arches. Dentists who place implants saying, hey, I can get rid of those edentulous spaces. So now, dentists, hygienists, hear me out. If you want patients to have the seat of their well-being to be held right, we're the gatekeeper. We're in charge. No other healthcare provider is in charge of the gateway except us. The 270,000 dentists in America, the 300,000 hygienists, 500,000 people, Americans are cradling their patients' health in their hands. And when you go to work thinking of us cradling, that's a different level of self-esteem there. Say, oh, it's just a cleaning. I'm just a dentist. Oh, I'm just a general practitioner. What do you mean? I have the country's well-being in the palm of my hand every day. And
Mm.
I serve them without having overall wellness. Because the first doctor said all disease begins in the gut. Well, we're in charge of the gateway, the entrance to the gut. You know, it's about a 5-minute long elevator speech. But man, you explain that to patients at a new patient exam, they're thinking, all eyes on deck. I've never heard this before. I am ready for this office. And that's where you can start building a wellness-based practice. And I'm not just talking about amalgam to porcelain onlays. I'm talking about integrating head to toe patient health, total patient health. In order to do that, we ourselves need to walk the talk. So the communication is authentic. It's coming from a body that's living it. You know, you are going to bed and getting 7 hours. If you have a snoring problem, you are on your CPAP or your appliance. You know, your BMI is under 25. You know, you are moving regularly on a regular basis. If you're doing endo and you don't like endo, refer out the endo. You know, don't be so stressed out. If you've never found the MB2 canal, you refer that damn endo out. And you start doing treatment you enjoy. So you lower the cortisol and have more aspects of your left and right brain integrating well through the corpus callosum.
Listen to this. I'm telling you. Okay, so let's talk about nutrition. A lot of people don't understand nutrition really well, right? They just kind of say this is a new fad, or the paleo diet. They have this diet, they have that. How do we get dentists to simplify and understand nutrition? How do we get our patients, everybody that's listening, to understand nutrition and what we need to really look for when it comes to nutrition?
Yeah, that's a great question. And basically, if you think of medical practice, dental practice, nutrition is a practice. In the 80s, they say eggs were bad. In the 90s, they said fat was bad. Now they're saying fat is good. Oh, no, it's trans fat is bad. Saturated fat is good. And then you get Dr. Greger, How Not to Die, saying saturated fat is bad. Then you get people saying, the carnivore guy saying, oh, no, you eat kidney and liver. Then you realize, oh, he was on performance enhancing appliances. And then someone says there's a cotton ball diet. How about the air diet? My uncle lost weight meditating. My aunt lost weight by doing gastric bypass.
Right.
So we're confused, right?
Right. And veganism can cure cancer. And, I've there's a lot. There's a lot. And Instagram doesn't help the situation. So give us what you look for. Again, from a dental point of view, what you look for to basically maintain this health that you have through nutrition.
Well, fundamentals. There's no new fundamentals. There's no new principles. So whole food is better than supplements. Supplements are an add-on. If there's a deficiency, you can take magnesium if you can't eat nuts and you don't eat vegetables. That magnesium can be there for you. In the wintertime, there's no way to get vitamin D except through fish oil. And the best fish oil source is cod liver oil, and Norwegian, it's a country, and Norwegian cod liver oil is the best. They said that 80% of us are low in vitamin D. People of color, I've heard one doctor in Toronto say he's never met a person of color who has good vitamin D in the wintertime, because if you have lots of melanin in your body, we protect ourselves from the sun, so we need more vitamin D. But in this whole politically correct world, you can't say 800 international units for an adult. Oh, if you're brown, you need 1,200. So basically, all brown people are low in vitamin D. Obese people also are very high low in vitamin D, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. People who wear a hijab, people who are covered, are even low in vitamin D in the summer, but there is no offshoot or discussion about who needs more vitamin D or supplementation in the summer, if you wear a hijab or face covering or a value, or if you work inside, So that being said, I find nutritional recommendations come and go all the time. I really do believe, though, that principles are vegetables are good for you. That'll never go out of style. A balanced approach is best. Anytime you restrict whole food groups, anytime you say no grain, no dairy, how many average Americans, how many average Canadians can afford grass-fed, antibiotic-free meat? Hormone free. I read somewhere the other day that half of Americans earn $15 an hour or less $15 an hour less. So they're not going to be able to afford hormone-free grass-fed. It's only the dentists who still complain about not having enough money. So you're not going to find much sympathy. Here's dentists in the top 3% of earning in the world, in America, probably the top 0.05 in the world, complaining about it's an economically challenged time. You're not going to get any patient, listening to your violin being played. Oh my God.
Right.
So that being said, fundamentals. So vegetables are good. A balanced approach. Looking at food very holistically. Looking at food. So there's two functions of food, either function or hedonism, purposeful or pleasure. Now, I don't deny the pleasure part of it. During the holiday time, people have a lot of specific holiday foods and treats they eat for their own spiritual practices. Guess what? You're going to say, oh no, turkey, I cannot have the skin in it. It's going to kill me, mom. Or I can't have that bread. I'm gluten-free, or fasting. I got to have protein throughout the night, dad. I'm building muscle. I'm a bodybuilder. So many of these practices get circumvented when you can't balance the social aspect of food and functional aspect of food. So I love food, but I eat healthy. But because I grew up with very plain eating. I remember my mom used to put I'm not sure if you ever ate cow's tongue before. Ever eaten cow's tongue?
I have not. I have not.
Oh my God, my mom served the cow's tongue. We grew up in an economically challenged family, okay? We're economically challenged. My mom would literally take the cow's tongue and stick it on everyone's plate. So I had this 10-inch cow's tongue. We had these 10-inch cow's tongues on all these plates. And that you have that once a week, you still start realizing food is not for pleasure. So we'd hit each other with the cow's tongue. We would slap it around at each other. So that being said, I've learned to think of food for function, but you start looking at food, and I say one of the ideal questions to ask. And what it does, it brings it a more mindful approach. If I'm out at a dinner, if I'm at a buffet, if I'm out with a loved one, if I'm on a first date, if I've swiped left, I'm not sure you swipe left or right on Tinder, but if you swipe left or right, whatever it is,
you're right.
This first date, how do I want to appear in front of this person? What's the best way I'm going to be served tonight? If I want energy tonight, do I eat a big plate of pasta? Do I balance it out with vegetables? So that being said, if you ask yourself the question before you eat or order, is this meal going to serve me or sabotage me? Does my meal serve me or sabotage me? So do I want the French fries and poutine? If you're in Canada, poutine is like a cheesy gravy on top of it.
Okay.
Does poutine serve me as challenge or sabotage me? Well, guess what? It only sabotages you if you're a desk jockey and you're sedentary. If you're Lance Armstrong, 7,000 calories a day. If you're Michael Phelps, 10,000 calories a day in the pool, 8 hours a day, you can eat anything you want.
Right.
So for physically active people, they literally, caloric-wise, can eat almost anything they want. It's only sedentary people that really got to watch their carb intake. And that's where dentists start getting confused. Carbs are bad. Not really. If you're an active dad, you got twins, you have a 7-year-old, you have a 5-year-old, you have a Rottweiler, you have 4 acres of property. Guess what? You need carbs. You cannot go too long eating cheese, bacon, and hamburger. So so one diet will not serve everyone. But that being said, I like the principle. So vegetables are good. A balanced approach is maintainable and simple. All or nothing doesn't work. If I go out with a family member or a friend, I got to be considerate of their needs. You go to a dinner, you say, "Oh, I'm only eating meat at this dinner." Right away, people look at you in isolation. They make judgments about you. "Oh, he's different than me." And we're very tribal these days. "Oh, he's paleo. Oh, he's keto. Oh, he's vegan. Oh, who are the vegans in the room?" All of a sudden, it goes, I'm a vegan, so you eat last, so
right.
Eating is social. And I really said, if you want to make a healthy diet sustainable, maintainable, you got to think of it in the broader spectrum of things. You can really alienate someone by asking, who doesn't want this? It took me 8 hours to make it. Which one of you doesn't want it? Who's the vegan here? Who's only eating kidney and liver today?
Right.
So
right.
yeah. So that all or nothing, I don't think works that well. It's not sustainable.
Okay. Well, so based on that, right? Based on nutrition, based on just kind of balancing out your meal, there's a difference when it comes to male versus female, men versus women, right? And what do you teach, in your lectures that is associated with the difference and how we can use a difference to, help ourselves out? Like example, women with hormones and males with, belly fats and so forth, and women with belly fats and stuff like that. How do we balance it out so that we are getting the most out of our bodies?
Well, great question. But unless you have a specific a metabolic disease or a documented condition, the same foods that are good for men are also good for women. Right. And you'd be surprised how much we make it so compartmentalized. Oh, my teenager, my 80-year-old dad. Protein is even more important for the 65-year-old plus, because as you get older, you need a positive nitrogen balance. So we actually need protein every 4 hours. So the older you get, the more protein you need. It's not just for the teenager. Men and women. I'll often get a middle-aged lady talking about, menopause and hot flashes and my broadening waistline. Well, I'll say that broadening waistline tells me there's going to be inflammation. And the higher levels of C-reactive protein, the higher levels of interleukin-6, the more chance you cannot get away with a hygiene appointment every 6 to 9 months. The bigger your belly, the more visceral fat you have. We got to see you every 3 or 4 months.
Hmm.
Oh, why is that? Because this is where the omentum is. This is where the body stores cortisol. If you're an apple shape, you have more interleukin-6, which is a pro-inflammatory cytokine.
Hmm.
So in terms of making it different, I think the fact that a lot of experts online argue with each other, we start bringing male, female in, it gets even more argumentative.
Right.
The whole idea being is, though, I do know, though, and they've shown. So Jeffrey Morris, he's a medical doctor back in the 50s. He did a study with 35,000 London bus drivers, sitting and standing. And he found out that if you sit all day, you're twice as likely to have a heart attack in the next 5 years. Twice as likely if you're sitting all day. That goes up double for women. So it's even worse for women to sit all day than men. It's even worse for women to sit all day than men. So, and not being sexist, but who does work at the reception? Who works in administration and dentistry? Mostly women. And you see sitting on desks, going over to the fax machine, going over with the chair, coming back to answer the phone, talking over there. Get up off the chair, for crying out loud. So rigor mortis is going to set in.
Right.
So again, I don't lecture. I don't browbeat my team members.
No, for sure.
But ultimately, women are heavily punished for sitting all day, twice as much as men. So that being said, that's one of the biggest difference in terms of physical activity. And you'd be surprised how little physical activity the average American, the average Canadian does. So that being said, I don't want to make it too complicated, because anytime most dentists overthink, right? We got that paralysis by analysis. So keeping it simple means staying hydrated. Keeping it simple means doing some physical activity every day. An easy one is just park further away from the dental office. You'd be surprised how parking further away will give you another 1,500 steps. The average American only walks a third of a mile a day. A third of a mile. The average American walks about 1,750 steps a day. We spend more time as cavewomen, walking 15 to 20 miles a day. So when you think of Homo habilis and Homo australopithecus and Homo sapien and the Homo Neanderthal, 50 to 20 miles a day. So for the last 2 million years of caveman, cavewoman history, we walk 15, 20 miles a day. The last 50 years, we're walking 1,700 steps a day. And we're wondering why we have a heart attack every 30 seconds. We're wondering why we have 50 million of us suffer from autoimmune disease. And again, 80% of sufferers of autoimmune disease are women. So when you think of, half of new grads in dentistry are women, most of hygienists are women. You got to think about autoimmune disease. There's 50 autoimmune diseases, and 80% of the sufferers are women. So you start talking about, your immune system is stronger when you're physically active. It's even more important to be physically active, to have a strong immune system, if you're a busy female dental healthcare provider.
Speaking of that, dentist and stress kind of coincide, right? A lot of people give the stats of, dentistry has the highest suicide rate and so forth, and sometimes it's mislabeled and so forth. But stress is definitely a real situation, and we all know that stress can lead to a lot of cardiovascular issues, can lead to a lot of systemic issues. So talk about stress when it comes to dentists, when it comes to normal people, anybody, and then when it comes to how do we reduce that, and what do we need to know about stress in order to, basically avoid it?
Yeah, great question. Again, we talk about the suicide rate in dentistry, and I think part of that is the intense our day is. And, I just went to a bank today and I saw the teller trying to convert something for me, and I saw people standing in line, tapping their fingers. And so there's stress in every job: air traffic controllers, pilots, flight attendants, teachers, prison wardens, mixed martial artists. Conor McGregor, he talks about stress. So stress is part of every field. If you want to be top 10% in your field, stress is part of that. But I heard Andrew Huberman actually say today that stress only becomes important if you're not sleeping enough. The minute you're sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night, your body, your brain starts processing stress better. Because during rapid eye movement sleep, during that 100 minutes a night, which most of us, as a human, you need 100 minutes a night, our body processes emotion and memory. So if you're sleeping less than 7 hours, and only people can get by with less than 7 hours if you have a gene variant called BHL-HE41. But so 99.99% of us need a minimum 7 hours a night. And that's not just time in bed. Most people say, went to bed at midnight, get up at 7. If you get up 3 times a night and it takes you 30 minutes to get to sleep, you're not getting 7 hours sleep. But if you're sleeping good, solid 7 hours, no snoring, no apnea, no episodic hypoxia, what happens is your brain's able to process memory and emotion. So now instead of dragging the sadness and worries of each day into the next day, your brain has a new open shopping cart, a new cache. Think of having your cell phone with one, the new iPhone 15 comes with 1 terabyte of memory if you want it. I got 512. I didn't want to go for the terabyte. That's so much memory. That's so much memory. So if you sleep well, your emotional ability to handle challenges is 1 terabyte. You have a huge resource. You have lots of bandwidth. Oh, Dr. Odiatu, your first patient canceled. That's okay. I got time now to phone some patients back. Hey, Dr. Odiatu, you wandered on line 1 and line 2. And by the way, I'd like $10 an hour raise. We'll talk about it after. Put line 1 on hold. Put line 2 on speaker. I'm going to call you. So you have more bandwidth if you sleep well, because the brain loves to process emotion and memory. So if you process emotion and memory well, you can handle the highs and lows of a cortisol dominant day from a patient not being anesthetized. Patient doesn't have post-dated checks. Patient doesn't have a credit card. The veneers won't fit. The lab's not back. You can handle that better if you're processing emotion, because you're not carrying the dirt of yesterday's emotions into today. So if you sleep 7 hours, good 7 hours, you get that 100 minutes of sleep, your emotional bandwidth is greater. You have more emotional intelligence to handle your day. And you're not, fighting like Conor McGregor, having his ankle broken and, against the ropes, the Dustin Poirier against that fence, if you're sleeping well. So sleep allows you to handle more cortisol perturbations in a day. So that's where, even though stress is still part of dentistry, and I think as most dentists, during a staff meeting, we spend so much time on the problems, very little time on the solution. Right. If stress is a part of the day, we cannot deny dentistry is not stressful. Well, what are some solutions? Okay. As a dentist, delegate more. Stop choosing the magazines for the reception. Stop choosing the curtains in the washroom. Give that to your team. Hire an associate. Why do you got to be the hero of every story? The patient's talking and you're telling about your day, your horse riding lessons. Let the assistant be the star of the show. Let the patient be the star. Become better at listening. Talk about the better the listener, the more people hold you in higher regard. And now you lower your stress, not having to be the CEO, right? The center of attention. No, the COA, I'd call it center of attention.
Yeah, I was gonna.
So manage stress better by delegating, by sleeping more. And now you can handle it. Stress can't be denied, but you can definitely handle more if you're sleeping deeper.
Okay. So, you mentioned something earlier on. You talked about yoga, meditation, and so forth. And with that being said, I feel like, so I started doing yoga. One, it's probably harder than weightlifting, harder than a lot of stuff that I've done in the past. Yoga is intense and it's very difficult. It's a very level, it's very, cerebral. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable in that cerebral time. They don't feel comfortable in just being within themselves, right? And so can you explain to us how yoga might benefit people when it comes to that level of stress? We talked about sleep. Now let's talk about other activities that you might be able to do to reduce that cortisol level, to reduce that stress level.
Yeah, I love that. Great question. Yoga's got a lot of mixed connotations for people. It's got images of spirituality and it's got some religiosity involved. So again, depending where you are, if you talk about, yoga in the Bible Belt, you might get people not wanting you to talk about yoga. So I'll talk about Pilates. Okay. But again, yoga, even if you're doing yoga purely, it's all about the breath. I'm certified as a yoga teacher, but you start talking about chaturanga and shavasana, it gets people thinking, am I in a language class or am I resting? So get away from the language part, get away from naming the asanas. People lower their defenses and just sit back on your mat with your hands up on your back, close your eyes and surrender. This position is for surrendering. Very hard for the overachieving type A dentist, the periodontist, the endodontist, the hygienist, the female dentist that owns 7 practices, twins on the way. How do I relax? I got my pagers going. I hear it in the locker room. That's it. Well, that's why surrendering is one of the most powerful things you can do. And there's a really, really good book called The Course in Miracles. There's another good book by Louise Hay called You Can Heal Your Life. There's lots of good books written by Wayne Dyer, PhD, called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And if you literally change the way you look at things, life changes for you. And it's that subtle shift in changing how you see surrendering. Surrendering is sometimes not a sign of weakness. It's surrendering to the present moment. Because if you fight the present moment, you think about it. If you and I if I didn't like the lighting right now, it means the whole of human history, the last 2 million years, the whole of universal history, 13.8 billion years, has formulated this current present moment. So if I'm hating what's going on right now, I'm hating 13.8 billion years that's taken to make this point in time. So surrendering is saying, I have to surrender the present moment. And now Deepak Chopra talks about this. He's an author of 90 books. He's a psychoneuroimmunologist. He said, you talk about surrendering, you open up the void, which is the infinite field where lies the womb of creation. And I remember hearing Conor McGregor talking about the fact that the minute you start talking about I am, the minute you stop fighting what is, what happens is you open up this womb of creation and all kinds of good things happen. And I know we're getting a little metaphysical for the average dentist.
No.
Likes nuts and bolts. But you open up that infinite field of the present moment, and that's basically the time between breaths. And if you don't think breath is that important, I remember hearing one time this trainer talking to a bunch of personal trainers. He said, anything you do a lot during the day is going to impact your posture. Do you agree? Everyone put their hand. He goes, do you think there's anything you do 20,000 times a day? And everyone went, I don't know. People said they swallow 800 times a day. Well, no, you breathe 12 times a minute. 12 times a minute times 24 hours is 20,000 times a day. So the way we breathe is one of the biggest determinants of how fit and how much vitality we have. So, but it's the time between breaths. When you breathe in, that time in between is the womb of creation. That's the next thought. That's called metacognition. That's the ability to start choosing my next thought or spending more time on a thought. And therein lies people's ability to attract what they want, to attract good things, to attract a good team, to attract good patient outcomes, to look at things differently. And that's what yoga or just being mindful allows. You can do yoga while doing dishes. You know, people saying, my dishwasher's broken. Well, you know, I have a dish. I have a cloth. I have a hand. I'm able to hear the water on the dish and scrub it. I remember I heard Robert Greene. He's the author of the 48 Laws of Power.
Yes.
He had a stroke 5 years ago. And he said that, you got the book up there?
I got all of them. I got his whole entire collection.
Good guy. I heard him last night talk about the fact that for 5 years ago, he had a stroke. And now he still can't ride a bike. He can't walk a dog. He's not very physically coordinated.
Okay.
And he said he can't believe how he wasn't mindful, enjoying everyday movement before. He sees someone walking a dog and goes, they're so lucky to be walking their dog. Everyone takes doing simple things for granted. So as I wash my plate tonight or look at it clean, I can look at my wine glass to the light. I got two eyes. Like, to be blind is horrific. You know, Andrea Bocelli's got blind. You know, I look up to see if the glass is clean. My fingertips work. You know, many people have wrist injuries and frozen shoulder and numb fingertips. As I put it up in my cabinet, which I can reach because my 33 vertebrae of my spine work, you can really bring a mindfulness to movement. And as you bring mindfulness to movement, you cannot help be grateful or in awe of this crazy body, these 600 muscles, this 206 bones. And the more you're in awe of something, just like when you treat your spouse reverently, she treats you reverently. When you treat your best friend with reverence, they treat you with equal reverence. So I treat my body, I feel blessed, I put the wine back, I turn off the water and hear the sound of the last few drops going, and now I'm going to walk away. So being more mindful is what any exercise can be, whether it's lifting weights or yoga or simply stretching. But there's definitely 3 parts of exercise, which I want all dentists and hygienists to know about: strength training, cardio, and flexibility. So yoga is flexibility, cardio does the heart, muscle building is for the muscle. But treating the body with reverence is one of the best ways to start treating. You know, when you obviously you've got new cars in your life. When you got that new car, the first 7 days, you parked it a mile away from everyone else in Walmart, didn't you? You didn't slam the door, you shut it with respect. No one ate in your car.
Right.
You can open up a wrapper, even if you're starving, you're looking at your burrito going, I'm going to take you when you get home, right?
That's it.
And right, everything's adjusted. You take a Q-tip every Friday morning and clean it.
Certain parts. That's it.
So the more we treat our bodies with that amount of reverence, the more it'll give us back equal energy, you know, because where your attention goes, energy flows. The more reverence you have for your assistant, the better she'll perform or he will perform. The more reverence you have for your office manager, the more reverence you have for your children, the more reverence you have for my shoulder. And if I treat my shoulder reverently, I'm going to warm it up before I do bench press. If I treat my back reverently, I'm going to stretch for 2 minutes before my sprints.
Mm.
You know, if I want to treat my body reverently, I'm not going to race into yoga, throw my mat down, have my phone on so I can do selfies in my downward dog. I'm
That's
going to
it.
leave my phone in the locker room, you know, and I'm going to have a mindful hour honoring the stillness in my mind. Now we're looking at the body like respectful. You know, think of the first day when you got your iTero. You treated it with so much respect. No one come near the iTero.
Right.
So you treat your body better than you do your iTero, better
Right.
than your digital Panelips, better than your Sirac machine, you know, and then the body will start performing like a Bugatti, you know, a $3 million car. Because it's hard to, your lungs, if you I needed a lung transplant, $1 million. Hip replacement, $55,000. Your eyesight, irreplaceable. Kidney, $90,000 for a kidney transplant. So when you start thinking, I am worth more than a Bugatti, I need the best premium fuel, premium food. I'm not going to get cheap supplements. I'm going to get the best magnesium. I'm going to go to the best gym. I'm not going to the budget gym. I'm going to the best gym. I'm going to get a trainer until I learn how to do this properly. Now we're talking. I may get a massage therapist in it during the next huddle and have those chair type massage, because I got to treat my team well. I'm going to have chair massages after the next huddle's over or the next team meeting. I'm not going to have the cheapest food in the staff room. I'm going to give my team the best apples and little plain yogurt and maybe a Tupperware thing of nuts. I'm not going to complain about having the expense of feeding my team. There's a dentist I know in Delray, Florida, Dr. Craig, and he provides his team, 52 people, lunch every day. Every day he buys lunch. He treats them with respect. And guess how they feel to be that working there?
Great.
Gratitude. Love him. You feed a team, they give you a lifetime of care. And if you treat your team well, they treat the patients well. Okay, sure, it might cost him $1,000 a week, $50,000 a cost of lunch. He gets, I'm sure, hundreds of thousands of dollars of more dotting your I's, crossing your T's. So anytime we treat our team reverently, our body reverently, it works better and longer without breakdowns. And without
Are you talking about Spodak?
Yes, Spodak. Oh
yeah. Yeah. I know Spodak. One of my closest friends actually works in his office, so he speaks highly of Spodak.
Yeah, bulletproof. Actually, I'll be
bulletproof.
I'll be emceeing their convention. They have a convention going on in Scottsdale in June.
Oh, nice.
A 3-day extravaganza, pumping up the whole team. He goes, Uche, we need your energy. You're going to MC that thing. You can do breakouts. You're going to integrate the session. So, hey, I'll be the Kevin Hart of dentistry.
Man, I might need to connect with him. I'm actually going to see him in early January for my buddy's wedding. So he's going to be there. So I might need to tell him, hey, I might need to come to Scottsdale.
No, he has, people talk about the cost of the program, and then he has one dental office. I think 40 of them are coming. 40 of them are coming to Scottsdale.
That's awesome.
Because there's no point having just the dentist there or the office manager. You bring a spouse, you bring your team, and now everyone learns together. Everyone goes back together with the same languaging. And now your production goes up $400,000, patient complaints go away, you know. So I love that all team learning, you know. Long of the day, you could just go to a course on your own and come back and wonder why you can't do course stuff. Well, you got to bring your associate to course. You got to bring your spouse to course. You got to bring your partners to course. It can't be just you learning the treasure. You got to share this treasure. And I think it's by when I share what I know in podcasts and in person, this information goes deeper into my own brain, goes deeper into my own heart. You know, my 8-year-old son gets this, you know, and it's amazing how you can really, the more you share, the deeper it goes into your brain. That's it. And then people say, Uche, how do you remember all this stuff? I share all the time. My retention is powerful because I share so much.
So what advice or what kind of exercises could you give a dentist when they're in their office and maybe their office and they're waiting for a patient to come? You have 5-10 minutes. What kind of exercises would you give to the dentist to do to just kind of stay active?
Okay. It all depends. And there's 3 exercises which I can easily do. I love a chin-up bar. A chin-up pull-up bar, you throw it up, make sure you screw it on so no one's going to fall off, right? Or it's going to be aware of litigation in the United States. So you throw up a chin-up bar. Even just hanging, you hang from a chin-up bar Because Peter Attia, he wrote Outlive, said grip strength is directly correlated to lifespan.
Mm.
If you have a really weak handshake, or if you shake a person's hand and they're 45 and it feels limp, you're thinking, no post-dated checks for you. You're paying in full today, okay? Because a weak handshake means you're not going to be around that long. So handshake is directly correlated with lifespan. So if you can't do a chin-up or pull-up, just hang there. Grip strength is a powerful indicator of how long you live. So you hang there, that's grip, it's back, it's bicep. Now you can either with weights or not, you can do walking lunges. I have a kettlebell, right, at home and in the office. Carry a kettlebell with you. Carry a kettlebell. You walk down the full length of your corridor, come back. You're out of breath. So now I've done biceps and back. Lunges with a weight or without weight makes you breathe deep. You've done flexibility training. Now you go on your floor. You can do a modified push-ups or modified push-ups on the knee or toe. You can do 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. That's 3 exercises. I'll often repeat that triad 2, 3, 4 times, or even just once. If I'm feeling tired, it's 2 o'clock, you know, right away, they say the body cools in the afternoons, you get a little tired. You do walking lunges and you carry your fee guide. If it's still, carry your fee guide going down the hallway with walking lunges. You come back, you're awake again. You know, movement is life. Right. You know, because it's 4 o'clock, and you know, I don't want to have a coffee now and be up all night. Well, get something a little bit heavier. You know, maybe your accounts receivable, if you're not very good at collecting money, you know, carry your accounts receivable and do some walking lunges from side to side, down the hallway and back. And now you're awake. So I love those 3 exercises. So come chat some kind of chin-ups or gripping the chin-up bar, walking lunges with weights or without, and then push-ups. And then you repeat. You can do just one series, or you can repeat that 3 or 4 times. And that's a great total body workout. You've done all 600 muscles. There's very little equipment needed. And you feel youthful. I'll give you an example of how this works. We had a 19-year-old come in, 19 years old, right? 2nd year in university. And he said, doctor, my dad comes here and he said, you know, you make dentistry look fun. He goes, maybe I could shadow you. I said, okay. I said, you know, I try and be a little different, right? A little bit of a contrarian. I said, you want to jump up on the chin-up bar? He goes, what's that? I said, how many chin-ups can you? He goes, I don't know. I guess, well, I said, well, at 19, you're probably the strongest. You know, at 19, most 19-year-old men, if you talk to your dad, who could be 40, your grandfather, you're thinking, I'm stronger than. That's why the military wants 18, 19, 20-year-olds. If I applied for the military, they'd say, I don't care, you're out of here. So he did 7. And that's pretty good, better than most, because to get into the U.S. Marines, you got to do at least minimum 3 chin-ups or pull-ups to get into the Marines. So I had 7, that's pretty good. High five. I said, Jay is one of the dentists in the office. Jay's in his 50s. He's got scrubs on, leaves the patient. I said, do some chin-ups. Jay pops out 12. Now the kid's like, yes, guy's like, and he goes, how many could you do? I said, okay, not one to show off, right? I pop up, I do 15. Right. And he goes, what's going on here? He goes, what the heck is going on? I said, you want to be a good dentist, you got to be in shape. I said, it takes a lot out of you.
That's it.
And he goes, you're stronger than my dad. My dad is only 45. And I said, well, I'm about 10 years older than your dad. He goes, that's crazy, man. I bet you he'll tell that story for the rest of his life. And it's an eye-opener to make any 19, 21 years of age, that you can be stronger 20 years, 30 years older. Like, I bet you there's very few people at 20 that would think they could be stronger 20, 30, 40 years from now. Everyone always thinks, I'm 20, I'm cool, I'm strong. It's a downhill slide. Everyone always thinks it's a downhill, though, now that I'm 30, now that I'm 40. Right. How can you be healthier or stronger at age 30, age 40, age 50, age 60? Well, you treat the body with reverence. You feed it well. You move it well. You sleep deep. You know, you get your eye mask on. This is not Victoria's Secret. This is a nice eye mask. This is not a very big bra, right? This is like this is an A cup. No, this is a Victoria's Secret travel mask.
Listen. We're not judging. We don't judge on this podcast.
You throw this eye mask on. Right. You know, you wear the orange glasses. Okay. You know, you brush with the Sonicare 2 minutes. You do all these things. You know, you drink dark coffee with the polyphenols and antioxidants inside. You know, all these things will create a body that will become your best friend again. And I think in most dentists and hygienists treated the body better, it would become your best friend again. And you would not be sad when you get birthdays ending in 0, because you're going, wow, I'm breaking the mold. I'm setting a new standard. I will lead, not follow. And that's why I want to take my colleagues on this journey with me. And I I do it humbly, and I do it with every cell in my body.
Let me just say, I'm going to end it there. I don't know how we could end that any more perfect. Thank you so much for literally coming on. I know how busy you are. You're traveling the world just given this kind of wisdom, and we were able to be blessed to have you on here to give this kind of wisdom to our listeners. So thank you so much for doing that. I mean, man, let me let you basically end it right by asking you, what advice would you give to dental students, non-dental people, hygienists, I'm sorry, assistants, or just patients in general? They all listen to this podcast. What advice would you give them when they say, listen, life is stressful? And we know that it's become more stressful. It's become very polarized, right?
Mm-hmm.
In general, no matter what you do, you're always wrong.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it seems like anyway. So, what advice would you give to people, that would allow them to live a healthier, fuller life that you have learned in the time that you've been here?
Yeah. There's many lessons, but there's few principles. I
Mm.
think a big part of that is, we talk about most people treat their body like an afterthought. I'm hungry. What do I feel like right now? Oh, my veneers didn't fit. What do I feel like having? I want to celebrate tonight. I'm going to have some draft tonight. Or, oh, birthday cake. I'll have 2 pieces. I'm always thinking, what in my body needs to heal right now? How can I support my body right now? So I'd say, if treat your body with reverence, treat your joints and your organs with gratitude. And it might sound woo-woo, but anyone or anything you treat with gratitude works better. Everything you treat with respect works better. You're like, oh, if I did that, how come I still got a headache and I worked out? Treat the headache like a result. Maybe you're dehydrated. I don't know. But treat your body with reverence and gratitude. It'll perform better. And it can only perform better now, tonight. We're talking about for a lifetime. Literally that last third of our lives. And you go, now that I'm 40, 60 is so far away. As you talk to anyone who's 60 or 70, life flies by.
Mm.
And 60 to 90 could be a beautiful 30 years or 3 decades with your bills paid off, but you need all your joints working. Be cognitively good, lucid, good digestion, strong muscles, good posture, good balance. So treat the body better. It can become your best friend again, not just for tonight, but for a lifetime.
Beautiful. Thank you again so much for what you've done for dentistry, because I think we need somebody like you in dentistry to basically let us understand that it's not just about, like you said, the veneers, the crowns, the the results. It's also about making sure that you're there to enjoy those, and then so thank you so much for taking the time, and we definitely appreciate you on Tooth Be Told. If anybody hasn't told you today, we definitely appreciate you, man.
My pleasure. Hey, from the heart.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Tooth Be Told. The opinions on this episode are just that, our opinions. Please consult your dental professional before taking any action with your dental health. If you have any questions about anything you heard on this episode, please contact us at Real Dentist with an S. That's REAL Dentist with an S at gmail.com. We would be very happy to return any message that we receive, because we love the communication that we have with our listeners.